as a young trooper in Wilson County, I stopped a man who I believed was drinking at the time, and ended up that after I got him stopped, he had a loaded .22 rifle and had been driving down the road with a garden hose coming out his window and attached to his exhaust. And he was trying to kill himself by carbon monoxide poisoning and drinking at the time. And the end result was, after some initial conversation and a standoff between, he ended up killing himself in front of me. And you know, at the time, it was just the sergeant show up, you write your report, and we went to dinner, and that was it. And there was nothing, and so you kind of move on. 1 week later, I was involved in a second shooting from a bank robbery in Wilson. And, you know, again, there was no expectation of any kind of care. You just, it was an expectation that officers taught themselves emotional numbing, because you can't have a reaction. You know, you have to be able to go and control a scene, and that's the expectation of citizens. They need somebody to be in control. They need somebody to take care. And in order for that to happen, as officers and telecommunicators and emergency service workers, we have to be able to show up in crisis and perform. So you have to teach yourself that emotional numbing, and so that's what we did for a long time, and then there was no aftercare. So that's how I got started. Is I actually went to a class on how to be a peer, and during that process we had to debrief each other, and we were able to get some care for the first time in our law enforcement careers, and I had already been an officer for 5 years.
I went and got the training, and with no expectation that I would ever need it. 2 weeks later, my niece was walking across the street and she was killed. And my brother is a law enforcement officer in Virginia, and he was on duty at the time when it happened. And so it thrust the family into, you know, this scenario where now I'm having to go and help my brother get through some stuff. I didn't have kids at the time, and so what made it really unique is I had processed a lot of death on the patrol. That's what we do. You know, it's not our main job, but I mean, you get exposure, right? And so unfortunately for my family and for my brother, I processed it just like a trooper. You know, I processed Bella's death as I would any other fatality that I worked. Even to the point where I did interviews for the family on camera. It was a pretty high profile case. My brother's an officer, you know, his daughter gets killed, you know, it was a young mother, you know, who hit her. So, I mean, it was a pretty big deal. What I didn't understand was why my brother couldn't get back to reality, what was going on. You know, I didn't have kids at the time, and I remember distinctly thinking, dude, we got things we got to do. You got to snap out of this. You know, so, you know, I let them mourn and grieve and do all the normal things at my expectation. Hey, man, 2 weeks, you should be good. And he wasn't. And, you know, he started spiraling out of control. There were things that were going wrong. You know, the drinking, you know, the absenteeism from work, just, you know, everything that was just going wrong. And then I got a call from some folks in South Carolina and said, hey, we heard what happened to your brother. Can you bring him to us? And keeping along that same line of, you know, I was like, no, I can't. But ultimately, I wound up carrying my brother to a post-critical incident seminar. And I had a bunch of revelations through there. I was able to get help for myself, but they saved my brother's life. And how they saved my brother's life was very interesting to me. And it was something that was very foreign to me, and I didn't understand when they came and told us about what the MAT team was, what the peer team was. What made it unique was I was able to visualize that my brother was getting help from complete strangers. And he is my own flesh and blood, and I couldn't help him. And I couldn't understand why I couldn't help him. But the people that were helping him were people who were involved in similar incidences. He was able to meet a trooper in South Carolina whose daughter was who died the same way. And so they were able to instantly talk about something and share information on things that my brother hadn't relayed to me. And so to me, it was sort of like an awakening going, wait a minute, there's something to this. Because the trooper was able to look at him and go, hey man, I know how you feel. And he really knew how he felt. Right. So that was an interesting phenomenon for me to see that, you know what, there's something to this peer stuff. And so I guess I've been involved in it for 12 or 15 years now.